Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, I'm Ashley. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you haven't, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and share if you want to. I have to put that little insert. It may sound basic, but I want to make sure that y'all know that we're trying to build our community and reach 200 subscribers. So this is the first video to kick off the new content. I told y'all I was going to share the books that I've been reading, and so here I am. Recently, I have been on the journey to healing my inner child. That's a little terminology I learned on TikTok. But basically, it's healing the part of yourself, the small version of yourself. So a lot of us are healing from childhood trauma, and a part of that is acknowledging that inner child within yourself that was hurting and really just being sweet to her, so that way you can, heal that part of yourself. And a part of that for me has been just doing things that little Ash, as I call her, like to do. Doing things that she enjoyed or that I enjoyed as a child, and really just getting back to that. Before I quit my job, I was strictly working a 9-to-5 and spending a lot of time on my business. I didn't have time to do any of these things. So now that I work for myself, I can finally get back to me and find the things that I enjoy and take on the hobbies that I've been wanting to take on. And that first one was reading. The books that I'm reading has nothing to do with like healing or anything like that. It's really just simply the genres that I am interested in, which is like Black romance and Black fantasy. Just a short story. Growing up, I loved reading. And I love fantasy books. There was this one particular book that I used to read. It was a series called Time Warp Trio. Can't exactly remember if that's what it's called, but it's basically about these 3 boys, and they would travel back in time to like a specific event or a specific year, and they would just go on these adventures. And so when I found out that Black fantasy was a actual genre, I instantly became obsessed, started researching, figured out all the books that I need to read, because when I was younger, I wish I could have found like fantasies books with at least one Black character in it, or a Black leading character, or a story surrounding Black people. And so the fact that I found this, like, my inner child was excited, and I'm excited too. And so now I'm going to share with y'all the books that I've been reading this past 6 months. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 books. I think one of them no, I don't have it. So some of them are physical, and some of them are actually I've been reading on my phone. So if they are not with me, I will definitely put them on the screen. So the first book that I read that really started getting me back into reading is Honey Girl. Basically, it is about it's a Black love story between 2 women. And it's about a Black girl. I can't remember. She's like trying to find herself, not sexuality wise, but like trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. In turn, she falls in love with this Asian girl, and the story just unfolds from there. But I absolutely loved it. I was like, I have to read more books like this. Like, little me would have loved to read a book about like other women falling in love, because as a woman that loves women, that it's amazing. So Honey Girl, it's a really good book. The next book I read was 7 Days of June. Beautiful, beautiful love story. Like, if you love Black romance, like, this is the book for you. It's about 2 Black writers, a man and a woman, and they have a history of growing up together. They're old lovers, and now they're somehow coming back together, and they just fall in love all over again. I don't want to tell the whole story, but it's such a beautiful story, so beautifully written. Just the way that the author the way that she paints the scenes with her words is just so beautiful, and really makes you feel like you're in the book. So I encourage you to read it. These authors, I don't have them written down, but I'm definitely going to put them on the screen moving forward. So definitely read that. The next one that I read was Binti. It's a story about a girl. So a lot of the Black fantasy books that I've been reading have like a have an African heritage attached to it. So it's about an African girl or a Black girl, don't quote me on it, but specifically she's a part of a tribe, and she is really smart in the area of science, and she is wanting to pursue a career. Can't exactly remember, because I'm only reading, it's a series of books, it's a 3-part series, but I only read the first part of the series, which is 69 pages, and I finally purchased the full 3-book series, so I can't exactly remember all the details. So I'm still in the process of completing the series. But basically, she's from an African tribe. Her family specifically for generations has had specific roles that they complete within their tribe. And she specifically knows that she's talented in the area of mathematics. That's what it was. And she wants to pursue a career in mathematics, but her family feels like she needs to stay within the parameters of what the family has been doing for generations. She's like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. So she ventures off to go to this specific academy. I just love it because it's so empowering to even think about myself, just, you know, feeling like you're called for more in your purpose within your destiny, but yet you're surrounded by people who are like, no, you should just do this. But she chose to push limits despite, you know, what her family may think, what people may think, to pursue what she wants to pursue. And in the series, and in the process of doing that, she come up against a lot of things. This was a Black fantasy book. I absolutely fell in love with the first part of it, so I finally invested. I'm going to read the rest of it, but it's called Benti. Check it out if you're into Black fantasy, if you're into like stuff happening in space and just like mathematics, and you're kind of like a nerd like I am. This is definitely a good book. The next book that I read was White Smoke. This was different for me because it's a horror book, and I loved it. Like, when I tell you, when I be reading at night, I shouldn't have been reading it at night. I was kind of scared. Like, a lot of the scenes they had reading, I never thought that reading a book versus watching a movie, no, reading a book and watching a movie could be kind of the same. Like, as much as I'm scared watching that movie, I'm scared reading that book. But it was so good. It was really good. The ending kind of, I'm not gonna say nothing. I want y'all to read it. I want y'all to read it. I'm not even gonna give too much. But these are just going to be basic reviews. I'm not going to be in depth. But if you're into like horror, it's a Black girl, of course. All the books that I've been reading have been having Black leads. And her family, a girl and her family, they moved to a specific area. And the house that she's living in, there's a lot of paranormal activity. So that's all I'm going to say. It was a really good book. The next one that I read, they're actually sitting in my lap. This one really popped my cherry when it comes to Black fantasy. So I've been following this girl on Book Talk, and I ended up joining her book club. I cannot remember exactly what the book club is called, but if you're into if you want to get into reading more Black fantasy, or if you're into Black fantasy books, this group specifically, we've been reading specific books every single month. And one of the books that we read earlier this year was Wings of Ebony. I mean, look at this book. Look how pretty it is. And it's by J.L., which of course is a Black, oh, she didn't have her picture in this one. It's in the next book and I'll show you. But a Black author. Similar context, not similar context, but it does also include just like African heritage and culture as far as the backgrounds in the story. I absolutely, not only did I want to read it from the cover, but I fell in love with this book. It's basically, I don't know, I read a lot of the books in the book community, they call it like the chosen one kind of rhetoric, where, you know, you have your family, but there's one person that has a specific gift, or one person that feels called to their destiny to kind of break out into, you know, doing something different than what all of their family has been doing. And maybe because I relate to that story, that's why I fall in love with it. But it's kind of similar. So basically, without telling too much, so basically, God, I'm just gonna read the back of the book because I don't want to tell y'all a lot without telling y'all. So let me see if I can sum it up. Basically, Rue, who's the main character, she has magic in her, and she's part magic, part human. And so within the book, she has been learning to embrace her magic and owning it. Not only that, she has to use her magic to save her lineage of and the people that hold the magic, if that makes sense. So it's very whimsical, very it's also very street because she's from Houston, so you'll kind of see the two different worlds that she goes back and forth between. So definitely, if you're into just like urban street, I hate to use the word urban, but like that's how they say it in the book world, but like if you're into like just like, I don't know, like, God, I don't know what to call it, urban street life, just living in like the city, being down for your people, riding for them, but also you also love just like the magical world of understanding like magic and how it works in the fantasy world of the book, definitely check it out. Which also leads me to the part 2, because it's actually a 2-part series, which is Ashes of Gold. Look how beautiful that book is. I think the author's picture's back here. Is it? JL, that is the author. She's a phenomenal writer. She has tons of other books that I'm going to start reading, but Ashes of Gold is part 2, which is continuum. Amazing book. These by far are my favorite series of just like books in general. I mean, I guess Stuck in the Time Warp Trio, because that was like my first series I fell in love with, but these books are amazing. Like, I can't even put it into words. I just absolutely love it so much. Definitely look it up and do some research. Watch some reviews if you want to know more in depth. I refuse to do spoilers because I want you to not know exactly what's going to happen and have your jaw drop like me. But these books are amazing. Next book that I read. Well, how many was that? That was it. Okay, last book that I was so excited to read, but I'm not going to hold you. I could not get through it just because of the trigger warnings. Trigger warnings is a thing in the book community. If you're not a part of the book community or you don't read as often and you just happen to be a subscriber that's just wants to be interested, a lot of books have, especially in the adult what do you call it? The adult books or young adult books, because I've been reading a lot of young adult books just because the content isn't so harsh. Trigger warnings is something that you want to consider. So there was a specific book that we had to read for our group. It was called The Poppy War, and the triggers it was basically following war. I don't really know the full context, but I know that because the triggers had to do with just like, I think it was abuse, rape, shit, I shouldn't even be saying this on YouTube because they probably gonna flag me. But there's a lot of things that could trigger you that I couldn't even read it or even want to read it because I know it would make me uncomfortable. So in this specific book, there was a couple trigger warnings and I omitted it and I started to read it and I couldn't finish it. At least I couldn't bring myself to finish it. So it's called Queen. Beautiful, beautiful book. The way that she articulates the story is very easy to read, especially if you're just like a new reader when it comes to just getting into books, or if you don't like reading long books, it's very quick to get through, very easy. I loved it. I love the way that she painted the story, but however, I could not get past a specific chapter because it reminded me of a real life scenario and I just couldn't finish it. A lot of people said it's really good. If the trigger warnings are something that you can get past, I encourage you to read the book, but it's beautiful. Definitely want to read it. It's basically about, what's it about? This young girl who, dang, I can't even really tell you because I didn't get that far into the book, but basically, I guess a young girl who wants to break out into, she's very talented and gifted in the area of singing. She wants to break out into the area of, why can't I talk? Oh, she wants to break into the music industry and she meets this guy that is able to help her. And so we'll just leave that there. Definitely check it out. More research if this is something that you want to read. But Tiffany Jackson, she's the one that wrote it. She's a great author. I love to show the pictures because I want to show you that there's black books out here, y'all. Like, I was shook. I know there was black writers, but in the fiction world, this is so new to me and it's still fresh and I'm still so excited. That's what it's called. I love fiction books. Love it. So now for the books that I'm going to be reading moving forward. So I'm excited because it's more black fantasy books. So this month in book club, we are reading Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. I don't know if I said it right. Don't know the backstory yet, but I just saw the cover, got excited. I don't even want to read the description, look at reviews. I usually do, but sometimes because I look at so many reviews before I even start reading the book, it ruins it for me. So I'm going to stop watching reviews and I'm just going to dive in and read and see what happens. Of course, I look at trigger warnings because I don't want to be triggered in any way, because sometimes when you're reading a book and it's a page turner, it's so good that that's all you think about. Like with one specific book, I can't remember, White Smoke. I was dreaming about it. And that book, a lot of these books I read in a series of weeks, but White Smoke, I think I finished, no, which book did I finish in 3 days? Can't remember. but it consumes your mind. And so you just want to make sure that if that's something that you can't handle, that you're looking at the trigger warnings. But for me, I think I'm gonna go on in with this book, and just be patient with myself. If I need to take breaks, because I think that's something important to mention, that if you are reading an adult book, especially a fantasy book that has a lot of triggers, it's okay to stop and take a break. Because when I was reading White Smoke, and I think it was Honey Girl, I had to take a couple breaks because a lot of them hit home. A lot of them were also similar experience that I have went through, that I literally had to take a break for a couple of days and then get back in it. Because when you're reading a book, you're so, just like watching a movie on Netflix or a show, when you watch it every day and you're consuming that content, it starts to become a part of your reality, whether it's the way that you're thinking or the way that, you're dreaming or whatever. It's another book story for another day. But it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to not finish the book in a week. It's okay to take longer, more than a few months to finish the book. Just do it in your own time. Because I do sometimes pressure myself, like, oh my God, this is the book club book of the month. Like, I need to finish it all. No, like, I didn't read at least 2 books from there because I couldn't myself handle it. So just be patient with yourself. Another book that I'm reading, we're going to read, I'm actually excited to read because it's a very interesting backstory. It's The Lifestyle by Taylor Hahn. I don't know if this is a person of color. Don't know, can't remember, but I think it's about a woman and her husband, and they take on the swinger lifestyle. Sounds crazy, and crazy enough to want to see exactly what happens. This is part of the book of the month, which is another, it's not like a book club, but you pretty much pay. By no means is this a sponsored thing, but book of the month, if you want to sponsor this video, please do. Like, your girl's reading and she's trying to get some brand deals, so yeah. But no, book of the month is basically a website where you pay at least, I think, $16 to $17 a month, and you get to pick a book to read, a part of like the books that they have each month. And then you also, if you choose to not want to read a book for that month, it rolls over like a credit, kind of like Audible. So if you don't want to read one of the books that they have available, you're not going to pay for that month. It's going to roll over as a credit, and you can use that credit moving forward. You can also use the credit once in the upcoming month for another book. Like, for example, the next book that I'm going to show you was also in their library, and I used it because I skipped last month. But this is one of the books. And you can kind of tell because it has a Book of the Month logo. But anyways, if you're into reading books as much as I am, Book of the Month is an awesome platform to use. I'm excited to read this because not only is it love, but it has drama. And your girl, she likes drama. I'm not even going to hold you. I've been trying to fall back from drama. But I'm excited to read this book. This might be the first one that I read before I read Ray Bear, because I'm so excited to read it. And this one, fell in love with the cover. They've been talking about it all over TikTok. This was probably the first book I wanted to read, but I was like, we are reading it for our book club, I think next month. And I know the conversation is going to be fire because I've been hearing so many good things, but it's Blood Like Magic. I have not even figured out what exactly the storyline is because I want to be so surprised. I even refuse to read the inside of the book to tell me what it's about. But it's something similar as like the young black girl who has magic. And I'm just obsessed with like this black girl magic storyline. Like, I love it. So yeah, so if any of y'all want to get into reading, been thinking about reading these books, use this as a confirmation to go ahead, buy that book, sis. If you can't afford to, I say this lightly because me, when I first started reading, when I first started getting back into reading, I wasn't in a place to be buying books left and right. Now I am because I created a book budget. Basically, every month I give myself space to buy books. But even you don't even need a book budget. If you do book of the month, you now have that little bill, which is specifically for one book a month. So that was easier for me rather than having like $200, $300 book budgets, which I hear a lot of people have because they read that much or they love books that much. That is a goal for me. But if you're not in a place to like financially purchase books, there is a way to download free books. I'm definitely going to put that link in the description. The books that I read online that I was telling you guys about on my phone, that's how I downloaded them. I downloaded them for the free, and I was like, what? Books for free? I don't know if it's illegal, but I'm gonna share with y'all anyway because TikTok put me on. I want to put y'all on, especially if you're really trying to get used to reading. What I ended up doing was, especially when it came to being in a book club, because I was also in another book club. No, I was in 2 other book clubs, y'all. I was so excited. I joined 3 book clubs. Like, when I commit, I commit. But I left the 2 other ones because the books they were reading didn't really align with the kind of content that I wanted to read at the time. I'm not saying they were horrible or anything like that, but it just wasn't the kind of books that I wanted to read. But when I found this Black fantasy book club, I knew, like, because this was a genre that I love, I knew, and it had a lot of the books that I wanted to read that people were talking about. So I was like, I'm going to join that book club. However, I don't remember my train of thought. Oh, book budget. Yep. When I first joined the club, I couldn't afford to buy books every month, or I didn't want to. And the last thing I wanted to do was invest in a book that I wasn't going to like. It may look cute from the cover or the storyline, but it's okay to not like a book. There was like 3 books I didn't finish. It was Poppy War. There was another book that was a part of another book club. I forgot I got this book. Here it is. Beautiful cover. It's by an amazing writer. Her name is Morgan Rogers. This was her first book, and girl, you killed it. You killed it. This book was good, okay? Okay, so I read it for free, but I thought it was so pretty. I just wanted to have it because I was like, I'm gonna reread this one day. And some of the books I just like to physically have because they're so beautiful and they just look so nice on my bookcase. But that's another story because I just like buying stuff for aesthetics and to read. But definitely download those free books, especially if you don't know if you want to commit to buying it yet. Also, don't be shameful if you need to take your time and pace yourself when reading a book or taking a break, or if it takes you longer than others. And also, don't be ashamed if you bought the book and you didn't read it. I had about 3 books because it was either boring, it was triggering, or I just didn't really care for the storyline, and it was just a part of the book club. So yeah, if you're interested in joining a book club, I really encourage you to. A really good book club is Woman Evolve. Sarah J. Roberts, she has Woman Evolve is her specific brand, and she basically each month has a book for you to read, and then she'll invite the author on the platform and you'll have a discussion. I specifically didn't complete the book club just because a lot of the books didn't resonate with the genre that I was joining. There was also, but it's a really good book club. Amazing. I absolutely love her. The other one was, I think it was Books and Brunch. Same thing, I didn't really align with the genres that they're reading right now, but it's a great book club. It also has local things in your area, so they have local chapters, so you can meet up with people, not chapters in the books, but like local chapters as far as local groups within the whole entity of the book club. So each month you meet up with people in your local city that are in the book club and you discuss the book. It's really good too. So yeah, and then let me see, I can't find the book club that I'm in now, but I'm gonna definitely link them all below so you guys can check it out. But yes, so excited to read those books. Wow. And thanks y'all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.